7 million people. That is the record in the United States for a single day protest. 7 million people joining in the same voice for the same cause, fighting back the same fascists, because that was today. Yes, today was a record-breaking No Kings Day as we saw millions of Americans across the country stand up to Donald Trump and declare that we do not have kings in this country. It was horribly humiliating, so much so that Trump traveled all the way down to Mar-a-Lago to run away from the crowds, which of course he is hearing from. But if you thought that was bad, if you thought that was humiliating, just wait till you see how Melania humiliated Donald Trump on this No Kings Day in a way that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into that Melania humiliation, I want to start with the No Kings Day humiliation and the truth that we heard from our speakers today, starting with Chris Murphy, who slammed the pedophile protectors in Congress and in the White House.
Trump is telling Republicans that they shouldn't even show up in Washington, D.C. The House Republicans have been on an unplanned vacation from D.C. for 5 weeks. And there's a couple reasons for that. First, they're trying to cover up for rich billionaire pedophiles. But second, because Trump does think that he's a king, and he thinks that he can act more corruptly when the government is shut down. But he cannot. He doesn't have new powers, extra powers in the shutdown. The President of the United States during a shutdown, or even when the government is open, does not have the power to send masked men into our cities and pull off the streets our peaceful neighbors and throw them into the back of vans and into prisons. He never has that power.
We know that this government shutdown has been incredibly damaging to Donald Trump's poll numbers, and the same can be said for Republicans at large. But in some small way, and actually in a bigger way, they're kind of embracing the shutdown. It has given Mike Johnson the opportunity to now illegally block soon-to-be Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva from being sworn in so Donald Trump can continue to hide the Epstein files. And of course, Trump and Stephen Miller and Russ Vought, the two actually running the show, are happy to use this as an opportunity to fire federal workers en masse and traumatize anyone else who they're not letting go, because they don't want to just break the government, they want to break our perception of the government. They want us to think that it does not help us and it can't ever help us. The only people we know the government really does serve at this period of time in this administration is corrupt corporations, which is what Bernie Sanders got to the heart of in this clip right here before we get into how Melania was brought up at today's No Kings.
This moment is not just about one man's greed, one man's corruption, or one man's contempt for the Constitution. This is about a handful of the wealthiest people on earth who, in their insatiable greed, have hijacked our economy and our political system in order to enrich themselves at the expense of working families throughout this country. Yes, I am talking about Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and the other multi-billionaires who were sitting right behind Trump when he was inaugurated. Remember that?
I brought this up in the last video I made about the fact that we saw some angry Trump tweets about no kings, including me getting called out by the Trump War Room for stating the truth about Carolyn Levitt's calls for violence. But what Bernie is getting to here is something that I mentioned in the last video, that it is not enough for us just to protest Donald Trump. And of course, we're not. We need to understand that he is a symptom of this larger problem, how broken our politics are, the special interests that control everything, the billionaires who can buy off politicians. We're seeing it right now in New York City. The same billionaires who got Donald Trump elected are trying to stop Zohran Mamdani from becoming the mayor of New York City. Those people control it all. Now, of course, Donald Trump is trying to make himself a king, trying to make himself a dictator, but he is doing it in service of Elon Musk, of Larry Ellison, of Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and every other billionaire who gives him money and tells him what to do. But today, that is not what we will allow to happen. Today, we will call out Donald Trump and we will call out Melania. Trump brutally trolled with joke about his wives at No Kings. Former MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan might have had the line of the day at DC's No Kings rally after getting in a biting ding at Donald Trump. The great irony is, of course, that Donald Trump is the son of an immigrant, the grandson of an immigrant, and married to an immigrant. He said, in fact, 2 of his 3 wives were immigrants, proving yet again that immigrants will do the jobs that even Americans are not willing to do. The crowd, of course, erupted in laughter at Hasan's zinger. Hasan, an immigrant to America from England, was referring to First Lady Melania Trump, who is a Slovenian immigrant, and Ivana Trump, Donald Trump's Czech first wife. The joke came during a portion of Hasan's 10-minute speech where he took issue with how Republicans have described the No Kings protest as a hate America rally. He then pointed out that the immigrants Donald Trump is focused on deporting in ICE raids often have greater loyalty to the U.S. Constitution than Trump himself. And we immigrants, we love this country often more than the people who are born here because we choose to move here, live here, swear an oath to the Constitution here, an oath that the guy down the street violates every morning and night. This was a patriotic event. I saw American flags being passed out all over the place. It is time for us to reclaim the word freedom. And not just do it when talking about the freedoms that we understand we have been fighting for so long. The freedom to have women protect their reproductive freedoms, right? To make decisions about their own bodies. The freedom to love who you want to love. The freedom to go to school without being shot. These are the freedoms that we have talked about, rightfully so, for so long. But I think we also need to talk about the freedom from a corrupt system. The freedom to build and to create and to love in your community because you have time. Freedom from the stress of worrying about piling up healthcare bills. Not being able to afford care in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. Freedom from a work week designed to isolate you. Freedom from companies that want to exploit you. Freedom from this broken system. And the freedom then to do what we were made to do. To love, to create, to build, to organize, to spend time with our friends, our family, our community. That is the freedom that we should be talking about. A freedom to make something of ourselves in this country because we are given the tools to succeed. Not roadblocks in the path to success. Not monopolistic corporations trying to stop young upstart entrepreneurs. Buying them out not for their ideas, but simply to stop them from working, to build the better mousetrap, to build the better software. That is the type of freedom that I'm talking about. That is the type of freedom we should speak about. Not the Republican freedom where they grab a flag, they wave a pocket constitution that they don't care about. The type of freedom where they assert themselves as patriots without living up to any patriotic ideals. Loving this country means sharing this country, not having it hoarded in dark corners of wealth for a very select few. If America is great for what it can make, what it can produce, what it can build, then why are we letting 10 people hold all of that? Shouldn't America be for us all? Isn't that the freedom that we want? Isn't that the patriotism that we want? Isn't that how we democratize this country in a real way? Isn't that how we build a new economic patriotism? Isn't that how we stop the next want to be king? Because when people don't feel an ability to get out of this broken system, when they feel trapped, when they feel like there's no way to go, they turn to someone like Donald Trump. He preys upon their fears, their insecurity, their anger, and he redirects it to people without power themselves. Women, Black Americans, trans people, immigrants. That is who Donald Trump tells you to hate. And it works because people are scared. So let's be free from that fear. Let's build an America that is free from that fear so that we do not get tricked. And I know you won't, and I haven't, but too many have. Let's build a country on love and dignity and a desire for enough for us all. That's the type of America I'm talking about. And that's the type of America that Senator Murphy talked about right here.
I want to be honest with you about what's going on, and you know it. As we stand here today, the government is shut down, and shutdowns are painful. They hurt people. And frankly, that's why there was not a single government shutdown when Joe Biden was president and Democrats were in charge of Congress. Because we acted like adults, we negotiated with Republicans, we found common ground, we kept the government open. But today, Trump is telling Republicans that they shouldn't even show up in Washington, D.C. The House Republicans have been on an unplanned vacation from D.C. for 5 weeks. And there's a couple reasons for that. First, they're trying to cover up for rich billionaire pedophiles. But second, because Trump does think that he's a king, and he thinks that he can act more corruptly when the government is shut down. But he cannot. He doesn't have new powers, extra powers in a shutdown. The President of the United States during a shutdown, or even when the government is open, does not have the power to send masked men into our cities and pull off the streets our peaceful neighbors and throw them into the back of vans and into prisons. He never has that power. Whether it's a shutdown or not, the President of the United States does not have the power to use the FCC and the Department of Justice to censor our speech, to tell us that we cannot speak truth to power when we are protecting our democracy. He never has that power. And let me just say that I'm very proud of my Democratic colleagues who have drawn a line in the sand. And let me just speak for myself for a moment about this shutdown. I will not vote for a budget that throws millions of people off their health care just to pay for a tax cut for billionaires and corporations. And I will not vote for a budget that doesn't put some serious checks on President Trump's destruction of our democracy. In fact, no Democrat has a moral obligation to vote for a budget that just pays the bills for Donald Trump's political witch hunt.
We have an opportunity to build something better. We have an opportunity to come away from No King's Day and not make it a singular moment, but to say history was made, Melania was mocked. Let's keep on fighting. We're going to do so on this show every single day. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to watch the little fight I got in, because there was a post about me from the Trump War Room, you can check that out right here. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.